You're listening to the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. My name is Bill McIntyre, and it's time for this week's Long Island News, the show that talks to newsmakers and other important people from Nassau and Suffolk County that matter to Long Island and Long Islanders like you. So each week we'll have a conversation about issues that affect all of us. I live on Long Island just like you, and I want to know more about the people making the big decisions that affect all of us. Well, this week we're going to continue our conversation with the people who have declared candidacy for various congressional seats opening this November. My guest today is Gian A. Jones, who is running on the Democratic ticket for New York's 4th Congressional District, the seat currently held by Anthony D'Esposito. Well, Mr. Jones, welcome to this week's Long Island News.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Oh, thanks for taking the time. I know people who run for office usually have a full plate.
And I do too, but this was important.
Yeah, thank you very much. First off, now, this is your first attempt at politics, is that correct?
No, actually it's not.
Okay.
I have a long history of being involved in politics, actually going back almost 30 years.
Oh.
I got my start in politics about 30 years ago with the now Congressman Gregory Meeks, growing up in Far Rockaway, Queens. Spent a lot of time as a young person. I think I got involved at the age of 12 or 13, and just learned a lot from Congressman Meeks. And I started from the ground. Handing out palm cards, being at the subway station, running. The good thing about Greg was he took me everywhere with him. And I learned. I was in the back rooms. I was in the private meetings. I absorbed this stuff, and I fell in love with it. I got to see how things really happen, not necessarily how they're reported, but how they really happen. Just again, growing up, I ended up going to college and started a business and what have you. And then again, circling back to politics. So this is not my first foray into politics. I've been involved throughout those years in various community interests in Queens and citywide. And then as I moved into Nassau County, just for a better life for my son, started to get involved here. And just felt like this was a calling. This was the right time for me to run for Congress. Just because I don't like how things are happening right now. And there needs to be a voice contrary to what we're hearing right now.
Right. So you learned it from the nuts and bolts side of things,
Very much so. From the ground up.
Hey, that's great. But tell us about yourself now. Newsday describes you as a business owner and a real estate professional. Tell us more about who Gian Jones is. Yeah,
that's correct. 26-year veteran of the real estate industry, got involved right out of high school. Started out as a salesperson with the local RE/MAX office. Eventually became a broker 1 or 2 years after that. And shortly after that became a loan officer with a national mortgage company, National Mortgage Bank, while also retaining the real estate broker's license. And that was just a very interesting career. A lot of people, I helped change a lot of lives. I helped people realize their dream of home ownership, which was very fulfilling. And I tell you, as a young person, I really went into it for the money. I wanted to make money.
Yep.
But I got so much more out of it than just making money. Loved it so much, went back to school, graduated from NYU with a degree in real estate from the Schack Institute of Real Estate, and really began to take my profession as a real estate professional professionally, right?
Right.
And I've done all kinds of things in these last 20 some odd years. I've worked for a title company, like I said, a VP for a national mortgage company, a real estate broker, consultant, advisor. I've held a lot of hats. Now a developer. And I've enjoyed the ride.
Right. Let's see. Okay. Now in the primary, you're up against Laura Gillen, who was the primary winner 2 years ago, as well as State Senator Kevin Thomas. We've spoken recently with both of them. You can find our interviews wherever you listen to podcasts by searching for this week's Long Island News. So now, what gives you the feeling you're stronger than these two candidates?
I wouldn't necessarily say I'm stronger than them, but I do think I'm a better option. Both Laura Gillen and Kevin Thomas are experienced political office holders, if you will. But are they going to be the voice that's different in the echo chamber? They're both attorneys. I don't think that we need more attorneys in Congress. And no disrespect to either one of them. You know, I'm a business person. I live and die with what I go out and kill and eat.
All
right. And I think my voice and my experience as a business owner will reflect that of this district. Look, people may not know this, but New York District 4 is the second wealthiest and second best educated district in the state of New York, second to New York 3. But New York 4 also has a tremendous amount of small business owners. And I want to represent those voices. I'm a small business owner, right? I'm a pro-business Democrat. And I think my voice and understanding across the country for small business owners, the heartbeat of America, will be much better for our country, for our district, for our state than another attorney.
Right. It was a few years ago. I met a guy. I think he was in Suffolk County, actually. He had the financing. He had the plan. He was going to go into food trucks, and he came to a point where he just said, "You know what? It's just too difficult." And they said, "Well, what are the roadblocks?" And he said, "My own government is the roadblocks. I pay one for one permit, and then I'm told I need one for each truck, and then I get this." And and he just said, "You know what? I'm giving the funding back to the people that wanted to give it to me."
Yeah.
And in my mind, you know, we got a declaration, and we have the pursuit of happiness. That's what everything boils down to. The pursuit of happiness, your ability to build a life and build a place where you can flourish and you can have kids, and our government is supposed to help us do that. And more, you read stories about government is pretty much doing exactly the opposite. They want their pound of flesh. Some people can't deliver, so that everyone's dead in the water.
I agree with you.
You know,
I agree with you. Sadly, it's true. I think, look, another problem is that you have to look at the people governing us. You have to look at the money supporting the people governing us.
There we go.
Look at where the money's coming from the people supporting us. You know, I am self-funding the majority of my campaign. I'm putting my money where my mouth is. And that's not to say I'm not raising money. I'm raising money,
sure,
but I'm raising money from everyday people. But I felt very strongly about putting up my own capital, win or lose, because of this example right here, right? If elected to Congress, not only will I champion for people like that in Congress nationally, I will lean on the governor and the state legislature to make New York business friendly again. We are losing to Florida. We are losing to Texas. We are losing to the Carolinas. This is New York.
Right.
How are we losing? Like, this is the capital of the world. But yet, we are pushing businesses out because too much regulation, too many taxes, and it's crippling.
Yeah.
It's crippling. I will definitely be a sobering voice. And again, that doesn't mean I'm trying to be contentious, right? But it does mean that small business owners who employ most people in this country need a real voice who understands them, who understands their challenges, how they succeed, but also how they fail, right? I've been on both sides. I have failed in business. I have had tremendous success. And it's all a learning experience, right? But I'm very passionate about that because we don't need big business only funding elected officials that sit at the table and say, okay, we're going to now carry this water for big business, right? You need someone who's going to get in and say, I'm actually for the people voting and the people who go work for small businesses, particularly here on Long Island, because we have so many of them here. So I understand that example. I hear it all the time.
See, my contention is that we know what to do.
Oh, of course we do.
To fix things.
Oh, of course we do.
Right? And we only have to go back and look at our own history when companies were at a 37% tax rate, when money spent on research and development was tax deductible. Now I'm driving into the station to do this interview with you, and what do we hear on the radio? GM, IBM, they're all buying back their own stock to make themselves look financially wonderful. I'm sure their stockholders like it because the dividends are there, but we're succeeding against our own interests.
And you have to ask why. You know, I'm always asking this question, why? What's the bigger play? What's really happening?
One statement, all style and no substance.
Yeah.
It looks good on a printout.
But, you know, I try not to be a conspiracy theorist, but I'm always trying to get to the why. Like, what's the real why? What is going on behind what we see and hear on TV?
Well, you just got to see how the machine works.
Agreed.
So where's the money supply?
But not just see how the machine works. You got to see who's pulling the levers of that machine, because sometimes those people aren't so easily detectable, and that will bleed into the why.
Well, I think if we all saw the bigger picture, we may just turn out the lights and close the door.
Hey, very possible.
You got two companies in existence. One is called Vanguard, and the other one is called BlackRock.
Yep.
They pretty much own everything.
They own a lot of stuff.
And, you know, in the old stories, you walk down the supermarket aisle just in the soap suds area, and you look at there's a beautiful brown box. Oh, there's a beautiful red box. Oh, the beautiful blue box. And when you look closer, they're all Procter & Gamble. It's all the same company. They're just, this guy's going to like the brown box.
Not only is it the same company. So this is one of the things that I would be very passionate about in Congress. Not only are we having a lot of the same companies, but when you compare our products to the products of, say, European counterparts, what we are putting in and on our bodies are extremely harmful. Extremely harmful.
I said this the other day. Do you know that there are products in the supermarket that you couldn't use in Europe?
Absolutely.
They would be illegal.
Absolutely. No, 100%. I have traveled to Europe pretty extensively. You know, not that long ago, I was in Toronto, and I was with my family, and I said, you know, the food just tastes different here. The eggs taste better. Like, everything is better. And I said, oh, wait, they're using real sugar, not high fructose corn syrup. The meat is real. Like, listen, it's one of my pet peeves. It's one of the things that I'm going to go after if elected into Congress, because this is what we're all eating and putting on our bodies, right? And our kids. Someone has to stand up and say, it has to be better.
Yeah.
You wonder why the rates of various sicknesses are up? It starts with our food. Yeah. It starts with the chemicals we're putting in our body.
Food is supposed to be medicine.
It's supposed to be medicine.
I have a great little app, and people out there listening, it's called Yucca, Y-U-K-A, and it's an app you can put on your phone, and it reads barcodes.
Yes, I know this app.
And it tells
you the history. Yes, it's great.
Especially for cosmetics. You're going to slab this stuff on every day for 365 days a year. You probably might want to know what's in it.
You know, it's funny. It's just so funny we're talking about this. You know, one of the things that I'm working on right now is a privately held consumer products business that basically takes our daily things that we all use, black, white, green, yellow, Muslim, Catholic, Jew, everybody. We all use this stuff. And I'm making it better. I'm making them clean, right? Because I have a kid. And when I had my son, I started seeing life through his eyes, right? I started not taking things for granted. I'm guilty of it. As a single person, I just kind of took things for granted. I was moving fast and didn't think about it.
Oh, we all do that.
But once I had a son, things just meant more. Like, things just took on a different level of importance. So, interestingly, I wasn't planning to talk about this, but as we're getting into this, you know, I'm soon this clean product company will launch, and it will do everything from laundry detergent, fabric softener, household goods, clean toilet paper. Right. You imagine toilet paper gives you some kind of chemicals in toilet paper.
Well, it's chemicals.
We've looked at my team and we've looked at hundreds of products and said, how do we make these products better and cleaner? How do we give people a clean product that doesn't harm their endocrine system, the sexual reproduction system, skin disease? Okay, great. So again, I'm here for the congressional race.
Yeah, but it's an issue.
This was something that is so passionate to me.
And the other side of this is, and as a congressman, this would be on your plate, is consumer protections.
Yes.
One of the things I'd like to see is when Congress or anybody writes a law, I'd like to be able to read it and understand it in plain English, not whatever.
Not legalese?
Yeah, whatever it is they're writing.
Yeah.
And I asked one person that I was interviewing one day, do you think that anybody has ever read the terms what do they call them? Terms and agreement or whatever that you sign when you, like, people go get an iPhone.
No one reads that.
Nobody
stuff.
reads it.
No, I wouldn't say no one. I would say the majority of people don't read it. Look, on Instagram, there's a person that I follow, and she's an attorney, and she reads all these these statements before you sign it, and she gives it to you in little nuggets so that you understand what it is you're signing. Mm-hmm. And there's been a couple of times when I'm like, man, I didn't realize I was doing that. It has also caused me to change my behavior with that product, because you just don't, again, you don't know. You get the thing, you sign it, let's go.
Right.
So, now, but I agree with that.
We all think that we have, if we're harmed by a company's product, we think we all have our day in court. But when you read the fine print in these things, it's an arbitrator that they get to pick.
And you sign it away. You sign your rights away.
So where are our consumer protections? There are none. I think.
Well. So I wouldn't say there aren't any. I would say that big business, along with some government assistance,
they kept chipping away at
they
that rock.
Structured it. Well, this is a two-pronged thing, right? Because I do believe wholeheartedly the true power rests with the people.
Amen.
If the people don't voice their concerns, if the people don't vote, then you get what you get. Right?
Doesn't work if you don't vote.
It doesn't work. This is government for the people, by the people. If you don't participate, it doesn't work.
And we keep screaming that politics is local.
It is local, but it's a spider web, right? It's a spider web. So we elect our members of local government, town, county, what have you. But then we also elect members of the state legislature, which sets state agendas, which then feeds into a federal agenda, right? So we're not participating in all elections, not just the presidential elections, all elections, congressional, senatorial, state assembly, state senate, all elections. It all matters. If you don't participate in that, you really can't complain. But here's the other thing. It's not just participating in those elections. It's then holding those people accountable. If you go to your job and you say, I'm going to come. I mean, now we have a crazy hybrid. The world is crazy, right? But if you go to your hybrid job, you say, look, I have to be in work Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, but I'm home Monday and Friday. And you decide, I don't want to go to work Tuesday and Wednesday either. I'll go on Thursday. And you do that for 4 weeks, and your boss comes to your supervisor comes and says, you know what, Bill? The hell are you doing? You've been coming to work 1 day a week. That's not the agreement. Your employer is holding you accountable. Voters don't hold elected officials accountable. Now, that doesn't mean elected officials or politicians are perfect. They're not. No. We're human beings the same way. And it doesn't mean governing is always easy. But what it does mean is that it is incumbent upon the voters, the people, to hold elected officials accountable. Send an email, write a letter, call, document your stuff, make noise. Get your people in your community to make noise. Today, it's easier than ever to make noise. Yeah, right. Everything is instant. So government, it works. It's a partnership, right?
It works, but you got to be in it.
You got to be in it. You got to be in it to win it.
I got to do this. You're listening to this week's Long Island News on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. My name is Bill McIntyre, and my guest today is Gian Jones, who is running in the Democratic ticket for New York's 4th Congressional District, the seat currently held by Anthony D'Esposito. Now, let's see. We talked a little bit about campaign fundraising. That was an issue raised by Newsday. As of February 1st, Ms. Gillen had raised $500,000. Mr. Thomas had about $140,000. And at the time, Newsday claimed you didn't have a lot.
I didn't have a lot.
Right.
I didn't have a lot.
So
I didn't have a lot filed.
How are you doing in the fundraising department? Is it?
So as I said to you previously, I am going to self-fund a large portion of my campaign. We are supplementing that with a robust a digital fundraising operation.
Okay.
In addition to me just calling personal friends that I know. But it's a no pressure kind of thing. I'm going to do my very best not to be the traditional politician that has to bang the phones to raise dollars, right?
How would you feel about elections being publicly funded?
I have mixed feelings about that.
We'd save a lot of money, that's for sure.
Maybe we would, maybe we wouldn't. But what we would do is take a lot of business interests / control. Like we would take a lot of that interest out of it, right? We would essentially give the government and the electorate back to the people, right? So that's the one thing that I do like about it. The other part about it is I don't know if look, it works in New York City because I think it's just a smaller program. I'm interested to see how it works with the state legislature. They just started a public matching funds program. So I'm watching that because that's statewide. So I want to see how that goes. I don't know that the federal government will ever do that.
I don't think the powers that be, the people who make the rules.
Like I said, I don't think the federal government will ever do that. But, I'm mixed about that. There's something to be said about raising money, getting out and sort of getting to that place, right?
Yes, right.
You got to be ready to be in Congress.
I don't know that you could accept donations even if that were the case. If people want to give you money.
That's the whole way. That's the way public matching funds work. So if you accept $1, the government's.
Oh, but I was thinking more of an idea where, let's say you have two candidates and, okay, you guys are going to run. The public is going to give you $5 million and they're going to give him $5 million. And that's it. The idea being is that equal. If you're so smart,
it's equal.
You should be able to get elected with $5 million because your opponent only has that same amount of money.
It's a fair proposal. I don't think it's something that will.
Well, I think it's right up there with universal health care.
Right. So, but to go back to your original question, we have run a very lean campaign. This is not my first time at the rodeo as a candidate, but also as a political operative. I have worked on scores of campaigns going back to my childhood. And I've developed an opinion on how campaigns should be run. My voice in the previous campaigns wasn't large enough to matter. But certainly as I've gotten older and can call the shots on my own campaign, I'm doing just that. Mm-hmm. So when you analyze the expenses of Laura Gillen and Senator Thomas, they've raised, especially Ms. Gillen, they've raised a considerable amount of money, but they also have a considerable amount of expenses for a race that hasn't begun yet. And so you say to yourself, what's really going on? I have an amazing consultant, my primary consultant, Nate Lerner at Build the Wave. He and I have been aligned on expenses. We run a lean operation. There will be a cash infusion when it needs to be. But last election, people were coming up to me in my hometown saying, "Hey, honey, are we voting for you now? Is this the time to vote for you?" And I said, No. We're next year. So part of the reason why I didn't engage more heavily earlier was because it was also confusing to the voter. There tends to be a lot of voter apathy right now. And I hear it. I hear it from black voters. I hear it from white voters. I hear it from Jewish voters. I hear it from Muslim voters. I hear it from the whole district. And I try to change that because, again, as I just said to you, you got to stay engaged to matter. Your voice has to matter. And for it to matter, you got to stay engaged. Mm. And I tell these same people, if I'm so fortunate enough to win, call me. Email me. Let me know. If you see me in a diner or whatever, come on up to me. Be respectful if I have my kid. But you subject yourself to that as a public official.
That's one of the things I learned on the show is that actually congressmen are the people who you go to when you have a problem. And most people say, I don't want to bother my congressman. He's got bigger things to worry about. No, actually, he's got you to worry about.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. And also, even if you go to your congressman and it's not a federal issue, your congressman will reach out to your state official, your local official, and say, "Hey, I have a mutual constituent that's calling me about this problem or this issue. It's not a congressional issue, but it's a town issue or it's a state issue. Right. get on this.
Yeah.
Because as a member of Congress, you should be a leader of your district.
Yeah.
Your district covers a lot.
And if you do call your congressman and you're not sure don't worry about not being sure.
Don't worry about not being sure.
They'll tell you. They'll let you know.
They will give you the guidance.
Here's the guy.
Or they should give you the guidance.
Right. Or should connect you with the person that can do something for you.
Agreed.
What do you want to say? We have about 30 seconds left where we're going to say goodbye and then.
Listen, things that we did not get a chance to touch on that I want to just speak on briefly. We have a $33 trillion debt that's going to come home to roost in about 10 years. Congress cannot continue to kick that can down the road. We have to address not just the interest payments, but the actual principal. We got to start addressing this, or else my kid, your grandkids, they're gonna deal with that in a way that's going to be painful in about 10 years, right? That's number one. Yeah. So as a member of Congress, as an elected member of Congress, that's something I would push for, to really focus and work on the reduction of America's debt, because at some point it's going to eclipse our GDP. Mm-hmm. That's number one. Number two, immigration and amnesty reform. Listen, we are all here. We're all immigrants of somebody, right? Mm-hmm. I am not anti-immigration, but I am for legal immigration. Mm-hmm. I am for securing the border, but I'm also for amnesty provisions that make sense. Right. That's a bigger topic that right? Yeah. But I just want to be very clear about that. I'm big on crime and crime prevention and funding the police, not defunding the police. I moved to Nassau County to be safe, to make sure my son was safe. I'll tell you a very quick story. I know we got running out of time, but my local police department is in Woodmere. I was at a 7-Eleven. Someone called in and said I had a gun. I was outside having a cigar and a cup of coffee. Cops swarmed me in like seconds. Long story short, I asked the officer, just tell me what's going on. We got a call she had a gun. I said, I have no gun. I said, I'll give you permission to search me and I give you permission to search my car. It was a very cordial, respectful exchange. Mm-hmm. But about 15 officers showed up and said, the sergeant said, we take the gun thing very seriously. I said to the sergeant, I want you to take it seriously. I'm not even upset that you're here. I'm upset that the guy made the stupid call because I had some feelings about that. I said, but you're doing your job. I'm paying my part of taxes so that you show up, so that my kid is safe. So as a member of Congress, I will also fight to make sure that Nassau County Police Departments have the funding they need to continue showing up for our children. There you go. Anyway, I can go on, Bill, but you get the gist.
Very good talking.
Thank you very much.
We'll do it again, too. You got it. You got to promise to come back.
I definitely will.
Okay. Well, my guest today has been Gian Jones, who is running on the Democratic ticket for New York's 4th Congressional District, the seat currently held by Anthony D'Esposito. And again, we thank you for taking the time here to speak with us today, and good luck with the election.
Thank you so much, Bill.
But the clock on the wall says it's time for this week's Long Island News to get on out of here. I'm Bill McIntyre. Remember, you can listen to us by searching for this week's Long Island News wherever you listen to podcasts, and we're right here on the radio every Friday at 3 p.m. on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC.